Doesn't have to be, doesn't have to be bad. and welcome to the 2020 Austin Percussion Festival. My name is Chris Dimitriou, and on behalf of the Kraken Quartet, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our first ever virtual fest. We've got a great evening of performances, workshops, and discussions ahead of us, but before we jump on in, there's a few people that we would really like to thank. First and foremost, we want to thank the City of Austin Cultural Arts Division. Without their help, this event would not be possible. We would also like to thank everybody who contributed to our fundraising campaign earlier this year, as well as our sponsors, Vic Firth, Pearl Adam Rover Percussion. They support us in this project and in so many others. We have a great group of guests this evening, and if you would like to learn more about any of them, I hope you'll check out the description below this video right now. You can find links to their websites and social pages, as well as more information about what they do. I also hope you'll join us in the comments section for a live discussion while this event is streaming. And if you want to catch a replay of any of tonight's presentations, please subscribe to this channel to catch videos on demand starting right after the stream has concluded. And now, without any further ado, I would like to welcome our first guest this evening.
Hello, everyone. We are Q Percussion. We're a percussion quartet hailing from Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm Nick Bruce, and I'm currently coming at you from Greenville, South Carolina.
Hey, I'm Baldwin, and I am in Knoxville, Tennessee right now.
Hello, I'm Morgan, and I'm in Weaverville, North Carolina.
And I'm Christian, and I'm in Lexington, Kentucky.
So I hope you all enjoyed the piece you just heard. It is called Barrier, and it was written by our very own Christian Swafford. So Christian, do you mind just speaking a little bit about your piece?
Yeah, of course. So Barrier basically started because I had all of this time on my hands, which all of us did at the start of this kind of isolation quarantine period. And it was kind of tough to figure out ways to stay creative. Our ensemble actually had a performance lined up that got canceled, and it would have been our first live performance. So we were kind of, battling with this idea of staying creative and working together, and but trying to work through doing that in a remote environment was tough. And so this piece was kind of a reflection of the emotions and feelings involved with that struggle, particularly at the beginning of the pandemic as we tried to work through things. And so you kind of hear these repeated patterns in the piece, particularly at the beginning, that are woven through, pretty dissonant. And that represents this barrier that we were kind of struggling to fight against, this isolation barrier. And then eventually, we break through that and we get a little more tonal, a little more jovial, a little more creative, and we're able to do some projects together and finally get the ball rolling. But we're always reminded, and the piece kind of ends this way, that barrier still exists right now, and then we kind of always have to keep moving one foot forward. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go on. So first, we're going to talk about how we made our ensemble work remotely. Then we're going to get into how we try to delve a lot more into interdisciplinary collaboration. We're going to talk about our tag project, which was the first thing we tried to do to stay creative together. And then Nick's going to kind of walk you through how we did that and see if you can't do your own. So Baldwin, do you want to talk about how we started working remotely?
Yeah, so the biggest obvious problem with being able to try and get these ideas to happen from all of our different locations is, well, we can't get together to actually make music like we used to before COVID. So it was a challenge for us to be able to try and get everything to happen using the technologies and whatever resources we had available to us. And so all of our earlier projects were actually kind of like off of our phones. And then later on, we started reaching out to some of our friends and some of our colleagues and Googled and YouTubed all these videos to try and figure out how we can start learning how to use Logic and Final Cut. But ultimately, you don't necessarily need fancy technology to be able to make music with your friends in these difficult times. You can use your phone, whatever you have readily available to you, anything that might be free. Everything is a Google search away. And so if I can partake any piece of knowledge for you guys, it would just be to really try and make the best of the situation that you've got and use the time now. If you have been aching to try and dive into Logic, do it. And you don't necessarily need to use Logic as well. Like I said, GarageBand is free. Whatever you've got available to you, nothing can actually stop you from making music with your friends. And yeah, Morgan's going to talk a little bit more about how we've been making music with some of our new friends.
Yeah, so we had a lot of people reach out to us after we started doing our tag projects, and people were in the same predicament in different mediums, actually. Especially dance, actually. That's what we've been getting asked to do, is just composing music, original music for dance companies. And that's been a really rewarding experience for, I know, for all of us, just because I know usually primarily we only work with other instrumentalists. Like, honestly, we only really, like, we're a percussion quartet, so we're all percussionists. We know how to play with other percussionists, but it gets even more interesting when you start to play with a cello player or a trumpet player or anyone else that's out of percussion. And then when you start to work with people in other art mediums like dance or painters, it becomes a lot more fun that way, because you start to find out that you can combine all of these different ideas with each other, and they think of art in a completely different way, and we think of art in a completely different way, and it still falls under that umbrella, but it can all still work really well together and cohesively. So after that, we're gonna show one of our tag videos. We call it tag number 2, and I believe Nick started this one, and then he passed it to someone in the group, and then someone else, and then someone else, and we eventually just put it all together, all of our creative minds of composition, and here it is.
All right, everyone, right tools, but it can also be very fun and very fulfilling. Some things you will need are a video or audio recording device, such as a phone, camera if you have one, or even a microphone if you have one. Some type of video or audio editing software, like Logic or Audacity, even GarageBand, like Baldwin mentioned earlier, or something like iMovie as well. And your creativity. Once one person creates a musical idea, they will share with their friends, and the following players will then contribute and layer their own creations one at a time. You'll be amazed to see what kind of creations you and your peers can come up with, and what kind of creativity you can draw from each other through such a simple process.
So we really hope you enjoyed what we had to say and what we played for you all. And we have to give a huge thank you to Chris, Taylor, Dobos, and Sean for reaching out to us, for allowing us to be a part of this amazing Austin Percussion Festival, and it's truly an honor to be along with the other people who are a part of this festival. So we hope to see some of your tag videos soon. that should be really exciting for us. And feel free to share any of that with us. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And thank you all so much for having us. See ya.